Hey everybody, welcome to a special edition of Beyond the Booth here on Thursday night. Sorry about coming to you a few minutes late, but somebody, myself, fell asleep and lost track of time. But we're all here. The Howard Channing along with Phil Harris, and our special guest tonight is Dr. David Campbell, president of Northeast Alabama Community College. Dr. Campbell, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's good to see y'all and all your audience out there as well to hear them. So,
Uh, uh, I talked about it before we went live that I may end up calling you coach, and I just about done it then. But Dr.
okay.
Campbell, I've got a question that I'm going to turn it over to Phil, let him ask. Um, Dr. Campbell, we've had a lot of your coaches on over the last year, and we appreciate you letting us do that. We've heard nothing but high remarks about you from them. So my question is, how much did it cost you to pay them to say all that good stuff about you?
Oh yeah. Well, they're good guys, and I think we'll probably say it anyway. So I appreciate they said some good things, but I hadn't paid them anything yet. So, uh,
Good deal.
but
Phil, I'll turn it over to you, buddy.
mhm.
All right. Well, Dr. Campbell, welcome. First thing I want to back up, I want to ask a little bit about your family, your history. Of course, your wife, Carol, of course, and you actually went to high school in Scottsboro. And something I didn't know about till Joe Guthrie pointed out to me, you were actually in the Jackson County Sports Hall of Fame. So tell us a little bit of background about yourself, about what you played in high school, about how you and Carol met, and a little bit about your family.
I sure will. We are both from Scottsboro. I was a grade ahead of her in high school. We have a son, Jeremy, who works in Austin, Texas. He was home with us just a few days ago. I played football and basketball and ran track in high school. Carol was a cheerleader a year behind me, but we didn't start dating till the spring of my senior year. But we did go back to high school together. I love playing sports, and I was inducted into the Jackson County Sports Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. I was very happy about that. Uh, I, I did love all sports almost equally, and uh, I learned so many lessons from football and basketball. Track, we just had a kind of put together team. It wasn't a real major program, but I played under Coach John Meadows, who was in the Alabama and Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, and that was football. And I played under QK Carter in basketball, who's the in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. So I played under some really good coaches, and we had some good teams. I think we lost about 3 years of high school that I played. I think we lost one game, two games, and then we tied a couple of three. That was back during the days when you could tie games, and we had a few ties, but it wasn't in the 1800s, but it was pretty.
Yeah.
It was still when they played those by those rules. But I played. We ran kind of an option offense. I was I guess you'd call it the quarterback in an option, but today I'd probably been more of an athlete. I returned kicks and punts, and sometimes played wide receiver, and then ran in the backfield. So I would probably fit that description, and loved every minute of it. Same thing with basketball. I'd finish football season one Friday night, go to basketball practice the next morning. So it's just a continuous cycle, and very happy doing it.
Well, Dr. Campbell, you went into teaching naturally. Who were some of the people that inspired you, and what made you want to be a teacher?
Well, that's kind of a long, winding story there. I actually, when I finished high school, I loved sports much. I was kind of thinking about being a sports writer. And then I went to Auburn and studied liberal arts and journalism, and I saw there were a lot larger subjects like that you could pick from there. So I kind of branched out, and I worked for the Huntsville Times and Montgomery Advertiser after I finished at Auburn. And my managing editor there advised me to go into graduate school in a general type program so you'd know a lot of things that you could write about. So I did that. I went after my master's degree at Florida State. I liked it, so I transferred on for my doctoral degree at the University of Texas. And here's how teaching came in. One of my fellow students at Texas taught a course on the South, and he got a Fulbright scholarship. And they needed somebody to teach. I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't thought about going into education. And I said, well, David can do it. He's from the South. He's from Alabama, so we'll let him teach it. And I did, and I love doing it. I found out you could write and do all kinds of things in education, especially college education. So that's how I wound up in teaching. It was kind of a roundabout way. My family were teachers, my sister and aunts and my mother, so I was familiar with it, but I hadn't really intended to go into it. But that's how I wound up in it. It's like everything else in life; you never know what path is going to appear before you. So,
hey, I understand that. I started out was going to be a teacher and decided otherwise. Ended up having a communications degree and been in radio, write, do all those kind of things. It kind of twists around.
yeah.
Like in the communications, it broadens you so much you can actually hook on to a lot of different things.
I've said that about my background being so useful in what I do today as a college president, because you're familiar with a lot of different fields, a lot of different subjects and issues. So it really has come in handy for that. It's you wouldn't necessarily think that would be a background, but it certainly is. It's been very helpful.
Well, Dr. Campbell, when I first come to Northeast, you were teaching at that time, and I had teachers like Tony Niblett and J. David Campbell for history, Mr. Green, Dr. Burke. Lane Brookshire was my advisor. Of course, right at the end of my time when I was finishing up school, I was can't remember her name. She's teaching now, but there were so many great teachers. Joan Reeves. I had her. She was at North Sand Mountain, and she was teaching at night at Northeast. And she was a great English teacher. I mean, she very, she would put on my papers, you do a great job of writing, but you need to quit writing them 15 minutes before class. I got that so many times, but I thought the world of her. But there have been some great teachers come through Northeast.
There sure have been. There have been some fantastic teachers, and Joan is still here. I think we're the last ones here. Everybody else is pretty much retired, but she's still going strong and is just a fabulous teacher, and does a writers forum every year that attracts Southern writers from all over the area. So she's had a really great career. We keep going. So she says she's going to retire when I do, and I say I'm going to retire when you do. So we keep pushing on. So.
Well, that sounds well. Who are some of the teachers now that have inspired you, the younger generation of teachers? Because I don't know a whole lot of the new ones that are there now.
We have some really good ones. I'll tell you one that you'll be familiar with is Adam Niblett teaches math, and one guess whose son that is.
Yes.
That's Tony and Terry Niblett's son, and we have some outstanding teachers all across the board in science. Scott Bowerman is very good. Kim Bergman, math teachers, Thomas Frost, and I hate to name them because we've got some in all areas that are outstanding. We have career tech now, and we have instructors in there. Those are the programs where you go 2 years and get a job when you finish. Kelly DeAngelis is teaching that. Her husband, Hugo DeAngelis, teaches machining. We have outstanding instructors just all across the board.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, that was one of the things I was going to ask you about is, Northeast, mainly has been naturally the 4-year degree. And of course, nursing. My wife went to nursing. She has a degree from Northeast. But there's teachers there. It's being expanded out where you've got those programs where people can come learn how to drive a truck, drywall, electrician, those type of things. That's the wave of the future. If people don't know this, that's a great way to get some training and immediately basically get a job.
Yes. That when I first started as president, this goes all the way back to 2001, I could kind of read the tea leaves and see that career tech type of education was the future. And we little by little started putting all those programs in. And I guess we have about 25 or so different career tech majors someone can go into. Nursing was their first one, and that is a great program. Myrna Williams is our nursing director, outstanding instructors in that area. And Chris Peak teaches CDL for us, and we got some good ones all across the board. We recently added a workforce training center. It's about a $30 million building, and that we moved all our career tech programs into that one building where they'll be all there together. Not all of them are in there, but most of them are there. And we'll continue to grow in that area. Now we're rehabbing a building on campus and putting in a couple of healthcare programs, which are career tech. We're putting in sonotherapy. That's where you do diagnostic imaging, and then another program is laboratory technician. So the next few years, we're looking at more and more of putting healthcare career tech programs in. We work with Huntsville Hospital. Huntsville Hospital now has the hospital in Scottsboro Highlands and the one in Fort Payne, DeKalb Regional. So we're right in the middle, and they advise us on what would be good career programs to put in, and we try to do all that we can to put those in. It's a challenge sometimes. You have limited resources and finances, and we're about to run out of space too, so that's been a problem for us. But we keep plugging away and find ways to expand into programs that we think will be very relevant in the area.
Well, the campus has really grown. I remember back at the time when I was going out there wasn't much there. There was a whole lot to it. When my wife finished her degree in nursing, I got to come see the Lyceum for the first time. And, I was just amazed at how it's changed. And then me and my wife came to one of the softball games, and now she's amazed at how much it's changed. The landscape has really grown. It's really become a beautiful campus.
Well, thank you very much. We that's one thing we attempt to do. We want our students to be proud of where they go to school, and people in the community to be proud of the college. So we work very hard at trying to make it a very attractive campus and landscape well. And that's, if you notice, we try to be trash free. We're very sensitive to any paper cup thrown down on campus or whatever. We'll somebody here will pick it up as soon as it's done. And I think that's important in education. I think if you're meticulous with things like that, it tells you how you feel about what students learn, that you're going to be just as meticulous in the classroom or online and in the educational process.
Yeah, and I think that, and I think that goes back too with what you're saying, although that kind of ties into athletics too.
It sure does.
Most of your coaches are real meticulous like that about the little things, no trash, no anything, because they want them to have good habits, and those are the kind of things they need to say, because they're asked a lot of these coaches.
They're very attentive to detail, and we try to be. And like I said, I guess I've been influenced a good bit by sports and the way I think and approach things. So I've been pleased to have had that background. And we're not through yet. We've got a campus plan to rehab some of the older parts of campus, and we'll be demolishing some of the first older buildings around the quad. You probably know those buildings: the Social Science Building, NACC Building, Wallace Building, English Building, and Student Center. Will, over the next few years, we'll demolish those and build a new Student Center. That's on the drawing board, and we work through the Alabama Community College system, and it's approved by them. It's just a matter of dotting all the I's and crossing the T's and putting the money together, which is often the most challenging thing to do that. But 5-6 years, probably see a different campus out here. And we try to do it in a way that we create a landscape that's very inviting to students. We'll try to have courtyards and benches. And so when people come out here, they can enjoy themselves and relax, not just students, but the community too. So as you can tell, I'm excited about all this, and I've been in it long enough to retire, but I'll tell my wife, well, just one more thing we'll do. But it seems like it's always just one more thing that comes up. So, but that's where we are now.
Well, speaking of talking about your wife, I want you to kind of sort of say something about her, why you bring her up. Behind every man's usually a woman that's very supportive, and she's around to do the things the man can't do. Does Carol step up to the plate when she's needed?
She certainly does. She's always been very helpful, and I probably spent so much time at work, and she's always been understanding and forgiving of that. So that's another big plus. And she was a teacher in elementary school, taught second grade for about 35 years. So she knows about education and what's involved, and always just a great supporter.
Yeah, definitely so. Well, and I want to touch on this because I want to kind of get into talk about the sports programs. I remember back when I came to Northeast, and it was the fall of '85. And the biggest thing that going on a lot of times, and of course, a lot of times this was what Northeast was known for, was the card and playing in the student center. I would come in and I'd go to class and come in and the same people's playing cards. And I'm like, when did they go to class?
Uh-huh.
So, that's a lot of the things they were known for. But when I first came to Northeast, people always talked about the old basketball program, about how it had been done away with, but still people talked about it. And people even talked about maybe someday Northeast would bring sports back. Well, that became your vision, and it kept being talked about and talked about and talked about. What really got you to really stand down and get to where you bring the sports program back to Northeast? Was it mainly your vision, or was there a lot of people behind the scenes?
Well, certainly been a lot of people out here that have been extremely helpful. But I've always been a sports fan and seen the value of sports and love it myself. But I wanted to make sure we were in good shape as far as the educational processes were going. And I think we've done that. We've been named as one of the top community colleges in America 7 times for the Aspen Institute, which is tied into the American Association of Community Colleges and the Department of Education, all that. And so we're in good standing. I think our students do well, and we offer so many programs. We got the workforce building built, and took a long time to get to that point where we could put those career tech houses or move those into one central location in the house. So it felt like we were a pretty good ground to start adding sports back, which I always wanted to do, but just very hard to do. Now, actually, back in the day, I think we just had men and women's basketball. So actually, we have more sports that we offer now than we did back then. It's not exactly we're bringing sports back. We kind of some way starting sports because that was all that we had. There were some very good teams back in the 60s and 70s, and then kind of dwindled, the next years. And I wasn't president then, but the president at the time felt like it was time to do away with it just for a lot of different conditions. But I used to even help. It existed the last I was working here the last few years before it went out, and I actually helped coach the women's team a little bit. I wasn't very much of a coach. I was on a learning curve, but I actually was involved in a little bit. But it was done away with, and it just, I think it's time and come. I think it was a good decision then. There's interest in bringing it back. The challenges to that is it's more expensive to start back than other sports, and it would probably have to either rehab or gym, and our estimates on that's probably cost us $7 million, or build a new gym, which would be much more than that. So, and it's a little bit difficult competing with the high school teams in the area too. A lot of fans will identify with a certain high school and go to their games, and if you can get good attendance, you're doing well, because that's what was happening back in the 80s. It just didn't have too big a fan base. Of course, it didn't have the strong teams like they had in the 60s and 70s. But anyway, that's kind of where we are now. And I don't know, somewhere down the line, I suspect somebody will be able to start back basketball. I don't know if it'll be me, because I don't know how many more years I have to work, but I hope I do have a lot more. But I've had a lot of years in. Baseball is the same thing. It's expensive, and we'd have to build a stadium there. So those two are the more expensive sports to get into.
Okay.
And well, I hope that answered your question. I gave you a lot of answers there. But that's kind of where we are.
That's and I know, and in talking with Jimmy Colitis and Jeffrey Rao, the plan is to get where you're at now, get stable, get money coming in, and then maybe
Right.
later on that expansion may come, which
That's
makes
it.
perfect
Exactly.
sense because y'all put a lot of expense into soccer and to cross country and to golf, into softball. Y'all went all out. In other words, it seems like not necessarily you say win immediately, but you want to be competitive because this is a strong community. They love athletics, but they also
Yeah.
like to win.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where my old competitive nature as an athlete comes into. I like to win too, although you gotta understand that it has advantages for even when you don't win, and you're gonna lose some. But I have to pull myself back from being too competitive sometimes. And we have gone all out with the sports that we put in. Our softball stadium, they say, is as nice as Auburn or Alabama, especially the training facility. It's one of the nicest one in the South. Uh, we financed that with our money, but I'll tell you how that came about too. Is that when I decided to add women's softball, I went around the community trying to get support for it, and I went to Representative Nathaniel Ledbetter over in DeKalb County, and told him what I had in mind, and he was like, "Yeah, that's good. I'll help you out with that." So he actually got us some extra money through the legislature that really added on to what we could do with the stadium. And bottom line, it's as nice as any you can find anywhere. And the training facilities are state of the art. So we appreciate Speaker Ledbetter's assistance in that, and other legislators too. He kind of led the way on it.
Yeah.
And our soccer field, we're completing it, and I think the bid on that was right at $1.5 million. Softball field, I think, came in the final tab on that was like right at $9 million, and all this ties together. That's the idea I had to create a sports complex on the north end of campus, and it'll be the softball field and soccer field right next to it, and then a walking trail goes through the middle of it, and they're working on that. That's part of this current project that's underway, and it goes around the lake at the end of the field down there, the end of campus, and we'll make that a recreational area and have picnic tables and maybe some playground for kids and pavilions and eventually our cross country trail will be down there. But that's the next step. We're already collected some of the materials from this construction to use on our cross country trail. So really excited about that. And you can't tell it right now, but I kind of see it in my own eyes how I hope it's going to lay out. They're still doing construction down there, and everything's still torn up a little bit, but eventually I think it's going to be a real asset to the college and the community. So, and that's it's all kind of falling into place. It all fits together. If you following what I'm saying, it's all kind of each one is tied into the other. So.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. I remember when I came out and saw Coach, he took me through when the kind of the shell of the softball complex. The field was for the most part done, but he took me in there, showed me everything, and now I kind of had a vision, and now that I've been able to see it, boy, it's a beautiful facility on the inside, and that's some of those things that will bring when you bring players in, that will help in recruiting.
Right.
And of course, you've got some great softball coaches, and of course, Jimmy Colitis being athletic director helps coach too. But these kids that play, they're your number one recruiters, and when they've got a great facility to play in, they're going to sell that to kids that come in. So, that goes a double-edged sword there. Then, because a lot of times your players does a lot of your recruiting for you.
Yes, yeah, it sure does. I think it helped us for the coaches too. I don't think I'm saying anything out of school, but Coach Guthrie, Joe, saw the design that we had for the softball field, and he is originally from Alabama. Was coaching at Texas A&M. He's been all throughout the South coaching, and that got his attention just seeing what we were going to do. And he began to inquire about the about the job, and we was a really a great day for us that we were able to hire him. And his wife, Courtney Foster, as well. She's a All-American, was All-American pitcher, softball pitcher at Northwestern, and she helps with the team and is academic advisor. Joe was friends with Jimmy Gladys, and he told Jimmy about what was going on here at Northeast, and Jimmy got interested. So I was very fortunate to be able to hire him as well. So everything kind of evolved from that. Now, all of them, I think they were a little bit ready to leave the transfer portal and NIL behind at the Division I level. They kind of enjoy the working with our players and not having as much pro aspect to it. And but we're very fortunate to have him. And then Jimmy's a great AD, and he led us to some other outstanding coaches, John Moore in cross country, Jabbo Moore in golf, and Tom Shanklin for our soccer program. So that we have all along the board a good staff, and they have some assistants that help them. We try to be as supportive as we can. That's one thing I learned by putting in sports is not just coach and players, but there's all kinds of support that you need to provide, and it costs money. But if you go do well at it, you just have to do it. You be supportive and provide them with all the things they need to be successful.
Yeah, I know. I understand. Talking with Coach Guthrie, the first thing he told me, and that's the reason he wanted to get out of that Power Four type thing, is he enjoys the relationship and the development process. And you were losing that at the Power Four conference level because kids just transfer if they didn't like the way things were going.
Oh, yeah.
And what I like what he does at Northeast and what I've been impressed so far is he's looking to get these young ladies onto a 4-year scope. Not only does he want to develop them and win at the junior college level, he wants them to see them play at that next level. And that's a great thing. That's going to get players to come here. Does he pretty much have free reign to kind of do the things that he wants to do?
Oh, yeah. I don't interfere with them, and I know they've got nobody else does. He's got some people that really help out a lot. Chad Gorham helps him out quite a bit. Kip Williamson is some of our staff people just volunteer the time to help him out, but nobody really interferes, and we trust his judgment. And being a coach is a little bit different animal than some other positions out here, in that he travels a good bit to recruit and make contact at various tournaments, and we try to just stay out of his way. Now if we didn't win any games like one year, you probably hear more from me. So
yeah, that's for them. He's getting pretty much everything he gets, but at some point you're going to have to tell him no.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Coach Guthrie, we're blessed in this area in that bringing in junior college softball is that there's a great area of softball around us, not only in the Jackson and DeKalb County area, but Chattanooga, in the Sequatchie Valley, North Georgia. So really, Coach Guthrie may be able to stay competitive without having to really recruit nationwide.
Yes.
And that would be great for him because that brings a lot more fan interest.
Right. He looks at all the local players first, and we build a roster on them, and then we try to add on to what areas we might not have locally. But he's very good at doing that. And I'm all supportive of that too. You want to build your team around your local players, and that helps your fan support. And that's, we're a local college, so we should be putting our teams and players first. And we try to do that. We've been pretty competitive in women's softball this time. Let's see, they beat Sanford one day, and then I think tied another game, and then they tied Georgia Tech. So they played some big Division I teams, and they like to do that just to enhance their skills by playing those Power 4 Division I teams. But I don't know. I'm probably, like I say, if they didn't win any games, I'd probably be grumbling. tied Georgia Tech, and Jimmy tells me, well, we were ahead in 7 innings. They play 10-inning games in some of these competitions just for the practice. And and his argument was that we beat them in 7 innings, but mine was, well, you agreed to play a 10-inning game, so that's the score you go by. So,
Yeah.
so I've heard, how football fans will do sometimes. They'll say, well, we were ahead 3/4 of the game, even though they beat us at the end, so I think we won. So that's
Oh, yeah, that's the way it goes. So, well, bringing Jimmy in, what is some of the things he has brought to the table that has really helped you? Because, really you can kind of turn a lot of things over to him and not make a lot of the big decisions.
Yes, Jimmy's very good. He's helped us recruit the coaches that we have in the other sports, and he's been very good at that. He has a good network to pull from. He's good with people and makes contact, and he's helped us bring in some good coaches that it had been challenging for us at the college to have done with all their other duties. So he's really helped there. Helps a lot with the details, like lining up our concessions at the games and our ticketing process and buying uniforms. There's so many little details that he does handle, and this applies to all the sports that we do have. And he's been a really godsend as far as helping us in those areas. Now, Barbara Kilgore, who was at the time our associate dean of instruction, worked as athletic director for several months before we got Jimmy, and she did a fantastic job. She's very talented and hardworking, and actually she's moved to the director of workforce development now, so she's a real important person to the school. So, but we have Jimmy in place, and very, very glad to have him. You mentioned some of the high school sports that are good in our area, and you might look at what we added and see. I kind of geared what we added out here to the outstanding sports that we have in the area. There's some really great cross country teams, and Scottsboro wins the state tournament often. Fort Payne's very competitive, and some of the Pisgah and some of the high school teams around. So I thought we would do well in that. So okay, add cross country. Same thing with women's softball. I knew that we had some outstanding teams in the area, so we went that way. And they have a lot of Hispanic kids in our area, especially DeKalb, Marshall County, and they're very good at soccer. So we've recruited a number of them to be on the soccer team. So golf also have some good players. And, so you can kind of see that we sort of molded what we do here to shape it in a reflection of what's in the community. So I just didn't get off the turnip truck. I was wanting to make sure we had teams that win. Get my drift. So, and I think we've done well. So we're building in every sport, but we've started off very well. So.
Yeah, I think so. I like with Tom Shanklin in soccer. He was very successful at Fort Payne. I know he was frustrated early in the season because they were very competitive,
right?
And it's a team, and Coach Guthrie talked about this. He had talked to Tom that, this is your first team. You really don't have, your recruiting class. You just had to field a team. But, I went to one game and they were up 2-1 late, and the other team, it's the team from Emory over in Atlanta. They got a goal with about 4 minutes left and tied it 2-2. And, and I know the guys were very frustrated, but they have kept at it. And now they have started seeing some victories come on the field.
They've got
and that's pretty darn good for a first-year team.
They sure have. Tom won some state championships there at Fort Payne, so he's Collinsville won some. And so I think we've got a good foundation for soccer. And I never did follow soccer that closely. I'm kind of learning about the techniques of the game, but I've come to enjoy it and appreciate it, and see how they make their plays and pass to each other and all that. So it's a real entertaining sport. So
yeah, and I tell you how to learn for that sport is when we went to the match. There was a lot of Hispanic families around us. They tell you how the game works.
That's what it is.
That's who you learn it from, because we were sitting down there and they would just, they were talking about the game, and I was like, well, that makes sense. It's very basic to them, but it
Yeah,
was, it really opened my eyes. They know the game of soccer.
they know what they're doing with the moves they make and all that. But I could see that, and I think I'm going to be a big soccer fan, and I think we're going to do a lot better. It's just all a process of building, and we'll get there for sure. And did
Well,
do very well toward the end of the season. So
yeah, they would definitely have. You were talking about how you was going to, improve the campus. Of course, when the pandemic hit, a lot of things went to at home.
mhm.
Are colleges getting to where they're bringing students back to campus more and trying to have the facilities where they have better places to come to? Because I really think, especially students at the college level, they need to be amongst each other, because that's how you kind of sort of grow your horizon.
Um,
Is being with people you don't know. It's like when you bring in softball players
that's a
and
very
they're
good
from
point.
different
Yeah.
areas. It kind of broadens your horizon.
Yeah, you make friends for a lifetime, don't you? Yeah, we're
Yes.
seeing more of that. We've been real pleased, and I think our faculty and staff have been pleased about too, that we see a lot of kids have returned to campus and see them walking around campus, being over in the student center, and it's heartwarming to see that. Nothing much more like than walking out my building and looking around campus and see the students scurrying around, and it's good thing. So that more of that is happening. Of course, a lot is still being done online. That's a new world of education, the online process, and if it's done the right way, it certainly can be very appropriate and meaningful. And I don't guess we'll ever get back totally to like we were. Now, you mentioned about the kids playing rook in the students, showing your age there. You know what they're doing now.
Yeah.
They'll be on their phones playing games, and
Yeah.
or maybe even talking to each other a table over.
Yeah.
And I don't know if much cards are going on there, but we do have an esports team. Yeah, that's competition, and it's a recognized team. We've got a room devoted to it and esports equipment. That's gaming, and I know gaming. A lot of people see it as a waste of time, but there's some big companies now that will hire based on the level that somebody can achieve in competition in those games. And we've got a team. Brian Miller and Noah Allen are the sponsors of our staff, and they compete nationally. They compete with teams all across the country, and do very well at it. We've been ranked up high in gaming and esports competition, and it is a recognized sport within the Alabama Community College athletic league. It's not a It's kind of a off side of the other teams, like the basketball, baseball, softball, all that. But it's recognized. So,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of competition in it too. I think we've had like 40 young people that have tried out for the team and participate in it. So,
Well, of course, Dr. Campbell, of course, you bringing back sports and how it helps, and I made this statement before that, used to you would say, I'm a Mustang, and it really didn't mean a whole lot. But now that athletics are back and people starting to really get enthused about the program and starting to see Northeast more, it becomes a sense of pride. Do you feel that? I see that.
I sure do, and I appreciate you saying that. You can feel it on campus. There's just a kind of a little bit different atmosphere, I think, having the sports programs, and it unites us and gives us things to be excited about. And just, I don't know, it's like you're saying, it just creates a different level. And we like that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
can just
when
feel
I
it among the
noticed,
students and in the community too. So,
yeah, I noticed it too, that there was a big thing about the campus. About enrollment was way up, and
yeah.
that's a good thing. And of course, that's part of athletics too. That helps, but
Mhm.
it also draws other people to your program that aren't even involved in sports.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the athletes that get scholarships will bring their friends, and so it just has a multiplier effect. And we did have the largest enrollment in the history of the college this past fall. 60-year history of Northeast. This enrollment this fall was larger than it's ever been. We surpassed the Great Recession years. What was that, about 2009 and 10, when there were so many layoffs, and especially in DeKalb County with the textiles industry, that a lot of people came back to school to restart careers or find another career. And that was kind of unusual that the enrollment went up that much. But that was the period that we went past this fall, and it was all, regular, normal enrollment growth instead of kind of being an offshot of the recession. So we're very pleased with that, and I think we'll continue.
Another thing is too, Dr. Campbell, and I was wanted to ask you about, because I asked Coach Guthrie about this. You have athletics, but y'all have not dropped the grade standard. I mean, coming in at the junior college level, you ask these student athletes to go above the minimum as far as their grades.
Yeah, so we really do emphasize that, and as I mentioned, Coach Guthrie's wife is our academic advisor, and she has all the athletes, not just softball, but all the athletes are in study hall at least so many hours a week. Now, if they make good grades, she'll give them a break, and they don't have to be in there quite as much. But they can play sports, and that's good. But majority of them, this will probably be it for them when they leave, and so you want them to leave with those skills and abilities and know how to be successful wherever they go from here. So we do put a lot of emphasis on that, and I hadn't seen the exact numbers, but I know we had a lot of the women's softball players and off the golf and cross country teams too that were all academic in the community college league in the state. We had quite a few that made that. So we hadn't let up any inter-academic standards whatsoever. They have to meet the same standards while they're here as everyone else.
Well, Dr. Campbell, I want to give you an opportunity. I was going to let Howie ask a couple of questions, but your immediate staff around your office, who are some of the people that are very important to you that make your job a whole lot easier? Because those people kind of sort of are the unsung heroes you don't hear much about.
They sure are, yeah. They sure are. In my office, Brenda Stringer is my administrative assistant, so she gets everything lined up for me and makes sure where I need to be a certain time, and does all kind of research type projects for. It is interior designer as well, so she's helped people with their offices, making them look good across campus, and mine too. It wouldn't look near as good if I had been the one that had done all that. Our dean of instruction is Chad Gorham, and Chad's been a great help. He's the chair of the Jackson County Board of Education, so knows a lot about education, and he's been particularly helpful with the softball team. Chesley Bellamy is our event planner, and she works closely with me. We put a lot of emphasis on having events on campus. We have the Latino Festival, Music on the Mountain, and the Alabama Ballet is doing the Nutcracker Suite this month in November, and we try to bring those events to campus because we did, and they probably wouldn't be available to people unless we did them. And it helps us too, in that people come out to Northeast and see what's going on, so it helps with our promotions. Getting ready to start a play or theater has been a cornerstone of events forever. Kaylee Smith, Brad Archer are over that theater, do an outstanding job. Barbara Kilgore has been so helpful to me the last 2 or 3 years in different jobs. She's been a little bit of everything out here. She was interim dean of students. She was associate dean of instruction. She was the interim athletic director. So now she's the director of workforce development. And I think she's still doing a part of those old jobs too. So, but she has been a great help. Kip Williamson is over financial aid, and great help. John Paul Allen is over adult education, and then just our faculty and staff. They're out with people day to day doing all the grassroots work and go unsung so often. Jeff Halls is our dean of students, and he was recognized by the state as being the top student services employee of the year in the state. So that just kind of shows you what great people we have out here. Kind of hate to mention people because I know I leave some out, but we just across the board have some real outstanding people. We're grown a lot, and it's getting to be harder and harder, but I still do the final hiring for people here at Northeast. And I think we're up to about 160 full-time employees, and I guess I've probably hired every one of them. And when I do that, I always, first and foremost, you got to be somebody that has the skills and knowledge for the job. But I will also try to look for people that are positive in their outlook and have that helpful nature, uh, and I hope that shows up in our staff out here. They are all looked at and hired with that in mind. So you know how it goes. I think I've been right a whole lot more times than wrong on all that. So I take some pride in the people that we have out here and how well they work with each other and work with the community. So a lot of the schools, when they get so big, they'll have different levels of hiring. They'll hire at the dean's level or director's level, but I've continued to have it come through the president's office. Hope that's worked out good. I know I'm proud of our staff.
Has there been times where you've had to kind of sort of reach out for advice?
Oh yeah, I always am doing that, and being in this position, you always feel like there's something you could be better at in what you do, and maybe you're missing something in your leadership. So I constantly try to seek out advice and still read, as much as I can about leadership, the whole thing. There, I'll be pretty knowledgeable about it when I retire. I think when we get to that point, maybe a little too late with some of it, but I'll at least have a good mind for it at that level. So,
well, I think we've kind of spoke on this. I wanted to ask you about this in case we run short of time. Is you've built a legacy at Northeast College. How do you want to be remembered?
Well, I really love that announcement that you gave about the show that mentioned how we've created a college that people feel very positive about and are proud of and look forward to attending. And I'll tell you too, I grew up in the area, and I don't know, in the past, sometimes just Appalachia, and sometimes people feel like, well, we can't quite do as much in Appalachia as people in other parts of the country can do, and just because of some of the stereotypes that are there. And when I came in, I said, I'm going to try to do all I can to reverse that attitude, to show people around here they can do just as much or more than anybody else can. They can be successful and achieve just like anybody else in any part of the country. And I hope what we've done at Northeast has been a good model for that demonstration. So we have been recognized with quite a few acknowledgments, being one of the better community colleges in the country. So I think people can take pride in that. As you were implying, I'm not so sure that was the image and attitude toward us when it came in. So hopefully we've reversed a lot of that. And it's true, people here can do anything that they want to.
Howie, I'll turn it over to you. Let you ask a couple of questions before we get out of here.
Yeah, Dr. Campbell, we appreciate your time. We're running short on time. I got a couple questions I'm gonna try to ask, and one of them is you're talking about expansion and everything. Have y'all thought about expanding, buying some of the farmland around where you can expand the college out a little bit more?
We've looked at that. Something else I didn't get into is there's been a company that was interested in building a dorm, and they looked at buying some private property next to the college, and that didn't work out. But I think that's in the future, not too many years down the line, that we will have a dorm next to campus, and that will help us with our sports. We'll be able to recruit a lot better. But yeah, as far as just expanding our property, we would like to do that, and if opportunity comes along, we would certainly pursue it. The state has a odd, I wouldn't say odd, I guess it's what they need to have, way of purchasing in that you get 2 assessments from appraisers, and that's what you could offer for property that's available for sale. And so far, our appraisals haven't reached what the owners wanted, so that worked out for us. That's one of those things I guess you run into with bureaucracies, but that kind of it makes it a little bit tough to expand as much as you want to. And, but we're sure looking at that's a good question, and we're have about 115 acres in the campus, and we're running out of space. We're getting where it's all the with sports we've added on. There's just there's still areas for expansion, but 25 years it may not be, or maybe not even that long. So.
Yeah, and you answered my second question. I was going to ask you about dorms, potential
Mhm,
dorms coming
mhm.
there with all the with athletics and everything. And,
Yeah,
Mr. Guthrie, Coach Guthrie, has told us that some places in Scottsboro is helping y'all with
that's right.
dorms and all that.
Uh-huh.
And so, since you answered the question about eventually possibly dorms being on there, how's it working out with Scottsboro helping with the dorm situation?
It's worked out very well. I thought that would be a huge problem when we got into sports, having places to stay for students, but the community's been very receptive to this and opened up their homes in many cases, and we'll rent rooms, and there's some duplexes and apartments around that our students have found. So I don't think it's been that much of a hindrance to recruiting. I think it's gone much better than I thought it would. And how kids are today, they all got cars and zip off anywhere about any time, and uh, it hadn't limited them too much, I don't think. But it would be an asset to have a dorm or dorms on campus or near campus, and not just for sports, but our theater attracts people that come a long way to participate in it. Our nursing program does, and we have quite a few programs that are in high demand that people would move here to be in part of. So I think that's going to happen. If this doesn't work out about the private developer, I've been talking to our system, and they're looking at maybe doing a bond issue, and the system itself build some dorms on campus. So I don't know how many years that's going to be till that happens, but I think it's going to happen. That'll be another big step for us if that happens. So.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Mhm, mhm.
Dr. Campbell, we appreciate your time. Sorry that we've having to cut it just a little bit short,
That's
but
fine.
uh, you think we could get you back on here another time where we get you a little bit longer?
Sure, I'd love to be on. If you don't get tired of hearing me talk, I'd love to
Oh Lord,
love
no,
to be
Yeah.
on.
love to have you back on here, and we'll talk more about the dorms, more about you said that the older buildings are going to be tore down and something else built. You've got plenty of room going up. You just don't have it going
Right,
out.
right. We'll be tearing down those quad buildings. You better get you a brick, Phil, for a souvenir or something. You probably went in those.
Okay. When they tear that down, there may be a
Yeah.
couple of decks of root cards in the bricks somewhere.
So, but Dr. Campbell, we appreciate your time. We got a hard out. We got to get out. Hickson football is coming up after this.
Very good.
But before we let you go, we always allow our guests to give a shout out, which you've been giving shout outs to everybody.
I
But
tried to remember as many as good, but
we'll let you, if there's somebody else that you've thought of, just go ahead and give them a shout out if you will, and then we'll get out of here.
well, yeah, I think I've mentioned a lot of people on campus will. Are y'all live now, or is it recorded later on in the show? Well,
We are live
It's
right now.
live.
there's the way my wife is probably listening, so I'll give her a shout out. And my son is out in Austin, Texas. He's probably listening too. He's in communications. He works for Charter Communications, and so he's real up on broadcasts of this nature. So Jeremy, my son, so I hope he's watching. So if he's not, I'm sure he will be later on. So
Absolutely. And we appreciate your time, and we got you. It's live, but we can go back and watch the recording. So we got you verbally committed to come back on
I
here.
sure will. I'd be honored to come back in, and I enjoyed talking to y'all. So
We enjoyed it too. So, Dr. Campbell, thanks for what you've done for the community of Jackson, DeKalb County, Northeast College. And, I got a feeling that before it's over with, there's going to be a building named after you.
well, thank you. So thank you. So
And but for our special guest, Dr. President Dr. David Campbell. I got through the whole thing without calling you coach, so I'm
Yeah,
tickled
you
to death.
did. Yeah, you did. So
That's a win for me. But for
yeah.
President Dr. David Campbell, Phil Harris, I'm the Howard Chaney. This was a special edition of Beyond the Booth on Thursday night. And Dr. Campbell, thank you for everything you've done for Northeast Alabama.
Thank y'all for talking to me and having me on there. So
Yes, sir. So good night, everybody.